And now the documentary is out, and like you were saying, they could almost make a fourth series. But in my personal opinion, I'm a sucker for an origin story. So that's what also draws me to that first series. That first episode in the Arnold documentary that you worked on is just the origin of it. That it's interesting to see that this is what shaped him, and draw the connections from what I know about him to all those little points, to playing in that castle, to playing, to having this home, to having this lake that was his escape, that kind of thing. So where do you go from here, Carlos? So you've
good question.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I would assume that Golden Era Bookworm as an entity, as a YouTube channel, is going to continue, and your archival kind of collecting will continue. But I just mean in terms of documentaries and this experience as an archival researcher. I saw on your website that you have, for media inquiries, please email me. So you're open to more projects or opportunities. But is there anyone you would like to possibly work with? I guess I would question.
Actually. So as you mentioned earlier, the Frank Sane documentary is coming out by Alex Ardenti again, which I again worked in. And it was a pleasure, because Frank, I would now call him a good friend. So Frank, if you're watching, can't wait for it to come out. And
me too. I can't wait to see it come out. It'll be really interesting to see just the background of his life.
I mean, I heard that Generation Iron is coming out with one from Robbie Robinson. I think it's already produced. I will say that I guess I'm a little disappointed that I wasn't reached out for that. But then again, having said that, Robbie's life is not probably as busy as Arnold. No disrespect to Robbie. So I'm pretty sure he can fill in on his own background and whatever else was needed. But I am open to do more projects, not just on individuals, but on general, I guess, bodybuilding or fitness history. And that's why I put it up. I don't actually actively search out for this stuff. As I said, I've always been contacted, and I'd rather it be that way, because then I know people are serious about it. People have a contract or whatever, and it's going to be worth my while. In regards to the channel, I'm back interviewing people besides the ones I mentioned. The new Ken Wallace series is coming out. A new one on Robbie is going to come out also. Over the years, I haven't completed certain series. I actually still have way more on Robbie, more on Marvin Eder, who I hate to say passed away over a year ago. Don Howarth, I never fully released. Even several others. There's much information that I haven't still released interview-wise. And I do hope still one day to, of course, interview Arnold. Lou Ferrigno is really hard to get a hold of. I've tried, and I'd be willing to pay, but I just can't seem to get through to him. I would like to interview Boya Ko, Mike Katz. Rick Wayne has agreed, and I'm still trying to work things out with him. Roy Callard has also agreed. So
all exciting news.
Roger Callard, excuse me. And so there's some more legends coming. Also, the little guy from Pumping Iron who gets taught how to pose by Arnold. He's also
no way.
But we are going to talk.
That's wonderful.
A lot of people don't know this. His name's Wes, and he actually spent, if I'm not mistaken, he was only going to spend a couple of days or a week in Gold's gym, learning everything. That was his goal, to learn everything he can from Arnold and go back, take it home, and become a champion bodybuilder. That was his idea. When Pumping Iron saw this young guy, they sponsored him to stay, I believe, for a full month, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow.
And so this guy apparently trained with Arnold, and they paid Arnold's tutoring fee for Wes, if I'm not mistaken. It's either a month or a whole week of training with Arnold. But he's going to go through all that stuff on the channel. Man. So there's a lot of information we're going to learn
Yeah,
about.
that'll be really interesting to hear his perspective, his experience during that time, during the filming of Pumping Iron. He's getting coached and trained by Arnold, in his prime. I mean, that's really cool.
I can't wait to bring that out. It's going to be
That'll be fun.
I mean, at least for me, I don't care if I get 1 view or 1,000 views, but
yeah,
just to hear firsthand from one of Arnold's really first proper students, because he didn't do seminars until after he retired, really. I mean, he did some before, but he really picked them up after he retired. And we're talking in his prime at Gold's Gym. So that's just huge. So can't wait to do that.
Thank you for watching Vintage Weights PGH. Please support the channel by purchasing apparel through the link in the description or at www.vintageweightspgh.com. Old Weights new gains and lift history shirts are printed on high quality next level t-shirts, and they are available in multiple sizes and color options. Thank you for supporting the channel.
That will be fun.
So there's some interviews coming. And yeah, I mean, I get contacted all the time by collectors that are trying to pass their libraries and memorabilia. So yeah,
I am jealous of that because I'll tell you what, I said this to Zach Avanesh recently on my podcast as well, because he had someone gift these amazing old books to him, and that they found at York, PA at a flea market. And I thought, oh my gosh, where are these people just handing out magazines and books? I could use some donations. So, hey, listeners and viewers here in the United States, if you have collections of magazines, old strength magazines or old books that pertain to what I'm studying, I would love to use them. It's a great way to support the channel. And if we can just divide it by continent, Carlos. If you're in Europe, by all means, donate to Golden Era Bookworm, and if you're in North America, donate to Vintage Weights PGH. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that going on.
That's extraordinary. It's great. I think a lot of people just want to see these things that have been collecting dust be used.
Well, this is the thing. I don't mean to talk badly about the Stark Center in Austin, but this is not me saying this. This is other people. And I've been approached, or when people have asked, what do you think about this? Should I donate it to Stark? And like, by all means do. I can't guarantee that they're going to exhibit it and because when I'm approached by other people and say, have you tried Stark? And then they go, I don't want to donate it to Stark. They tell me. I'm like, why? Because it's just going to gather dust and maybe be pulled out once this century by an academic. I was like, oof, okay, that's a big insult. But
it's
there's a bit of probably reality in that. I'm sure that they'll be studied and cataloged, but and they go, instead, I want to gift it to you. I'm like, thank you. It's a real honor. I'm like, why? Because I know you're going to show it on the channel, and I know you use it, and I know you're going to produce material with it. That's why I'm gifting it to you. I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. So, I guess some people want their stuff to be exposed and shown and shared with the world.
Yeah.
And others, no, they want it to be where there's a central hub for that, and that's fine too. So
yeah,
that's how it happens. I'm just telling you why.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's funny you bring that up, because I've had that happen with weights before. I've had people actually. You spoke of Frank Sane. Well, Frank Sane, the leg blaster, the originator of the leg blaster, Jim Moore. I have an original Jim Moore leg blaster.
Wow.
And rack, and it was given to me actually for free because the sister of the original owner, this wonderful power lifter, who then used it from Jim Moore's World of Gym Equipment and bought it from there. He passed away, and then she said, well, I'm just giving it away, and I couldn't get out there, as you mentioned, opportunities going by because of work. My day job, I couldn't get out there in time to pick it up. And I told her, well, look, I'm just going to be forthright with you. Here's my website. Here's my YouTube channel. What I want to do is go through this. It had the original course book and everything with it, poster. I want to go through this. I want to make a video with this. I want to bring this back to life. I want to film a video of going to attain it, the drive, the journey to get to it. And then out of the blue, about 2 weeks later, she said, I'd really love you to have it. And she gave me some great information about her brother, the original owner. And what you're saying is basically what she said. I think it'd be really great, instead of this just sitting in the trash heap somewhere at the scrapyard. I think it'd be great for you to use it, for you to bring it back to life, put it on your channel. So I put out the video of the road trip to go get it, and I'm still filming through and producing the video of using it. And it's a really interesting piece of equipment. So I know that feeling of trying to bring this back from a dusty corner, from somewhere. And the reason I say it's funny you bring up the Stark Center is that there's 3 museums I want to visit. I'd like to visit the Stark Center, I'd like to visit the York Barbell Museum, and I'd like to visit Sorenex's headquarters, where Richard Soren has his museum.
Yeah,
I've spoken with Bert Soren quite a bit, and I'm actually going to York next week.
Nice. Wow.
And I've held off from York, though, because of some of the things you've said about, that people have said about the Stark Center. I've heard pretty much bad things about the York Museum, sadly enough, that it's lost its luster, that the conglomerate that owns York Barbell now is just kind of like riding it out. And these are other people's words, not mine, just kind of riding out the brand name. And
I've heard the same.
And so I've kind of held off, because it's one of those things that it's so sad to me that I thought, oh geez, if I go to this museum, because it's a short drive, it's only 2.5 hours from where I live. So people constantly ask me, hey, you live in Pittsburgh, why haven't you gone to the York Museum? And I don't know if I've ever said this on my podcast before, but that's why, because I'm kind of afraid. I'm afraid I'm going to be saddened by it when I get there. But a friend of mine from New Jersey is going to meet me there next week, and we're going to go. And hopefully I'm not too sad when I see the state of things.
Yeah, well, funny you said that. I was in Jersey last year, and I know that Jersey's only about an hour from Pennsylvania, so I might make the trip if I'm out there this time. And I hate to say, you're right about that too. Like, I contacted York several times over the years. I've got almost their entire collection of strength and health, muscular development, etc. Many of their original barbells and equipment, and it's just this. It's not just the snobbery, but not that I'm anything special, but I was telling him, look, I'd love this. This was my approach to them. I've noticed you brought the York name back. This is how I approach them. I've got their whole collection. I don't know if you want me to start sending you some information so you can talk about the history. Nothing. Man, you've got York Barbell under you. Do you know the significance of it?
Yeah.
And these people,
it blows my mind.
That's the thing. They don't care. I'm not saying that about Stark. I would love to go to Stark. I'd love to meet Jan. Even though I haven't really collaborated with her yet. I've collaborated with several other professors from there, and there's a lot of generosity I feel from there.
I love what they produce, and I want to visit the Stark Center, but I've heard similar things as far as the comparison I hear sometimes with the Stark Center is from people is that if you've ever seen the scene in Indiana Jones at the end of the first Indiana Jones, where they put the Ark of the Covenant in the archives in Area 51, that people have made the joke that that's the Stark Center. Like, it's gonna.
I figure it's gonna be like that. I know many people.
Hopefully not. I mean. But maybe it's a manpower issue. Maybe they don't have funding for enough employees.
That's it. I was just going to say that. I've gone to their website many times, almost weekly. I go there, and once I remember seeing a plea for, I think it was for $5 or $10 million, so that they could fund the Stark Center to continue operating for X amount of years. Wow. And for me, it is in Stark Center's defense, it's a manpower issue. I mean, what a place to work. I wish they would just tell me, Carlos, we want you here to do your work and now showcase the Stark Museum. I would love to do that, to turn my channel into. I don't know why they don't have a YouTube channel.
I don't know. Exactly. Well, maybe the Stark Center. You are the Arnold liaison there in Europe. I'll tell you what, Stark Center. I can bring Carlos over here, and Carlos and I can take a trip down to Texas. We can do some damage in a couple of weeks together in Texas. And well, there's certain things, like I was researching the origin of the power rack, And that was one of my early episodes of my other podcast, Home Gym History, on the Garage Gym Radio Network. This is on my own channel, and then I also do Home Gym History on Garage Gym Radio. So I was researching the power rack, what's the origin, and I came across a great picture of Bob Peoples' original, the wooden posts, and an article about on the Stark Center about going there and basically saving these
wow, they got them.
Wonderful artifacts, and they have them. So then I started getting into, okay, great. Well, where are they? Like, I would love to see them. And what I stumbled upon, several then people told me, no, they're in storage. Like they're not on display. And I thought, wait a minute, what? Like arguably the first squat rack, the first power rack is sitting somewhere in storage. Like that would be an amazing display. Like have a picture of a modern rack and then have these wooden beams that Bob Peoples put into the dirt root cellar that he lifted in. What a great, like the hair's standing up on my arms right now, just describing it. That would be a great display. Why don't you put that on display? And that's all I can think is they don't have the manpower to do so.
The same thing happened with me when I went to London. I went to the British Natural, I think it's the British Natural Museum the British Natural Museum in London. And I contacted the people there in the archives because they've got the original cast of Sandow there. I mean, that's just the holy grail of statues.
Absolutely.
And it's funny we mentioned this because now we go back to Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold actually wanted to buy it, and I found out. And when Arnold wanted to buy it, this is a different request. They completely denied me. They said, no, we're not going to take it out. And said, where is it? I want to take a photo of it. I want to do a YouTube video. It's in storage. Like, what? How can you not have it on display? Oh, sorry, we don't have it on storage. I'm like, oh, Jesus. And I was looking through images and stories online and websites, etc. And then there's a story how Arnold back 10, 20 years ago wanted to buy it. They said no. So Arnold said, then I want a replica of it. And they painstakingly took it out of storage and found that it was in pieces.
Oh.
I'm like, you're kidding me.
Wow.
So Arnold had it repaired and a copy made for him. And the idiots then put it back in storage.
Oh, so, I mean, they went to the work of...
Yeah, I mean, this is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, they could have just put it on display at that moment.
But that's what you need. This is my point. That's what you need.
Absolutely.
To do this. And it's all about a matter of money and manpower. And of course, only people like Arnold can move mountains like that to get going. But someone as significant as I hate to say.
From a monetary standpoint, from a financial standpoint, I'm a firm believer that a historical context lends purpose to a product. And I've started working with a couple of small companies and a couple of bigger companies on just that and producing some historical context to the products that they're releasing. So for example, AbMat just released their Zercher pad for doing Zercher lifts. And I did a historical kind of small piece, just a reel for them about the history of the Zercher. And so things like that. And the reason I bring it up is not just to promote myself or AbMat. By the way, link in the description if you'd like to buy. No, I'm just kidding. The reason I bring it up is that from that angle, I think to myself, you had Arnold, working with you. You had Arnold providing the funding to bring this invaluable artifact back to life, if you will. And then you put it back in storage.
They could have made something big out of it.
It's heartbreaking.
I know. It's ridiculous.
The whole process, the whole Arnold process, he's such a name that could have been part of the display is, hey, look what Arnold Schwarzenegger did. And here it is now. So yeah, it's unbelievable. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's all I can say is I don't know.
I mean,
heartbreaking.
When I think about that, it also depends on who is in the museum.
Yeah.
What kind of curators you've got, if they're interested or not. I mean, I live in Switzerland in the city of St. Gallen, and I contacted the Museum of Folkloric History here, and they're actually interested in exhibiting my collection. So having that kind of support really adds weight to what I'm doing. So I actually tell people that I'm working on an exhibition, and this is why people are also willing to work with me. But when you got nothing, it makes it much more difficult. And so you need that kind of support. You need manpower. You need belief in in the project that you're doing, people to believe in you. And of course, you need money. So they're really important things, because you can have the manpower, you can have the money, but when there's no belief, like in the London Museum as a perfect example, they just put it away. I'm like, this is disgraceful. So
it is. I mean, I've got a solid 15 to 20 years before I retire, but maybe once I retire, I can volunteer at the Stark Center or something. If they're still going and they need manpower, maybe once I retire and I don't have a day job, I can just volunteer some and put in some volunteer hours, because I admire the Todds so much. I think Terry Todd and Jan Todd have done, and Jan Todd is still doing so much for strength history and physical culture. And the Stark Center sounds like a wonderful place. So I hope it gets the funding that it needs, if that's what it needs. And I hope it does well in the future. And I'll certainly give whatever efforts I can to it in the future.
I agree 100%.
Well, as far as efforts of that sort, listeners, in the description, I will put all of Golden Era Bookworm's information, so you can easily just click on it. Or you can just search Golden Era Bookworm. You can go to his website, goldenerabookworm.com, which has links to everything. There's also a lot of products and things that you sell on your site. All kinds of stuff. The Iron Man magazines and ebooks and t-shirts and various things that I would assume support your endeavors. And one last question, though. I was curious when I was poking around all those things, when it comes to people. So you mentioned like John Park. So is that how you have some of these products and things? Like, how do you, you've got like a Steve Reeves t-shirt, you've got a Reg Park t-shirt, you've got, these various things, or an ebook from Robbie Robinson. So as you meet these people, is that how you're connecting the dots with what you have there?
A lot of the stuff that I do supports these people.
Okay.
If it's let's say Danny Padilla's booklets, that's how I was working with him. I interviewed him and I release it at the same time as the interviews, marketing.
I see.
And, same thing with Robbie, same thing with John, with John and George Helmer. They gave me the exclusive rights to produce Reg Park and Steve Reeves t-shirts and Jim sell their posters, etc. So it's as I go along, I make the contacts. They like what I'm doing, and they get their percentage, I get mine, and we're all happy. So
you're mentoring me right now. I'm learning from you here. Yeah.
So that's how I sell the e-magazines.
Okay.
The ebooks, the t-shirts, all that stuff. And by the way, if people are interested, I'm also now sourcing rare equipment from Europe. So we're talking a lot of the German and British brands. So if you are interested, just get in touch with me with a list of wishes, and I'll do my best to source these for you. So
a lot of my listeners, that's how I got my start on social media and whatnot, was posting various equipment and things and just trying to figure out how to restore it, the best methods. And then I branched out into strength history and physical culture. And that's a golden opportunity for a lot of people, because we don't see in the United States a lot of the vintage European equipment, barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, weight plates. I mean, they do come up every once in a while, but it is few and far between, that's for sure. And although I'm blessed to live in Pittsburgh, not far from York, not far from where Jackson Barbell was and various other classic equipment manufacturers, I'm not tripping over European weight plates.
Well,
that's for sure.
That's the reason I'm bringing it up. I'm stone throw away from Germany, where we could say is arguably one of the birth centers of the iron game.
I would agree with that. Yeah,
you've got, even before Berg, which was the original Olympic outfit, we've got the solid globe and hollow circus globe dumbbells and barbells and kettlebells, which again I can source as well. And there's some really bizarre looking bow-shaped dumbbells like so, that they were made to I guess how can I explain it? The original dumbbell from Greece was made of stone, and it's a disc shape like so.
The halter. Yeah, halters. Yeah, however I'm bad with the pronunciation, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Very first dumbbells, which were light dumbbells, by the way.
Yeah.
Are also bow shaped, right?
So similar to that. Interesting.
I've got several, and they went up to about 3 kilos because that was
my loose knowledge of the early gymnastic movements were that they were light, and they were like in a group, school children doing calisthenics basically with the light dumbbells. So yeah, they weren't heavy.
You're talking about the movement started by Ludwig Jahn.
Yes.
The Turnvater. And here's an original book from let me see the year before I show you. 1895. Right.
And I love that you can just reach behind you and grab this. It's incredible.
So that's an original school book.
Okay. Yeah.
1895.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And you can see he's actually holding a little dumbbell in his hand, right?
Yeah.
And I want to show you what I mean.
I'll reach behind me and grab a book now. So this is a recent book that I spoke with a recent episode of my other podcast, Home Gym History. This is Ben Miller's Methods of Using the Club for Self-Defense and Exercise, but it briefly, in 19th century Germany, it briefly mentions some of the lighter dumbbell exercises in Germany, and then the club exercises and things of that nature. So
this is the thing I'm talking here. They have the original halters here of stone, but many people don't know that the original dumbbell was bow-shaped.
Yeah, it looks like a telephone receiver.
Yeah, like a telephone. And I've actually got a small collection of them. And now that I've got a full set, I want to start offering that as well, because that's a really rare, beautiful piece, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that illustration you just showed is all over the internet and rarely has a source. So I love that you have an original book with the illustration, and I'll even admit right here, I'm pretty sure it's on, I have a History of the Dumbbell podcast on Home Gym History. I'm pretty sure that's where I used that actual image, and I don't have the book. I just saw it everywhere online.
It's not surprising, because I've shown this image more than once on my channel.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure people have then taken screenshots and
then off it went. Yeah.
But as you said, these were used for doing all kinds of military style. You can imagine an assembly of students all holding light dumbbells and doing these motions, much like they still do in China, actually. They still do that kind of stuff. These morning exercises to keep a strong nation is a fit nation is a strong nation. So that you can see they're all in their suits and stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because that's the uniform, if you will. Yeah.
But the point is that I'm offering now as well a lot of these rarer European pieces that will not be found in the US.
No, you're not going to go to a flea market or a garage sale here in the US and stumble upon one of these.
And I thought I'd mention that on your specific channel, because I know there's a lot of people that are interested in collecting weights.
Yeah.
And I mean, you should see the stuff you can get here in Europe. It's pretty amazing. So that's why I thought there's a lot of people in America that want to find out more about this stuff, and I'm glad to tell you and to hopefully I guess bring exposure to this. This is another reason. It's not just selling. No. Even the fact that I can show this to you guys, I think it's really cool to expose people also to the origins of how things went from Europe to America, because really that's how it started, right? So there's an even more origin. We're talking Jackson, we're talking York, and now we're talking Berg.
Exactly.
We're talking Olympic weights. We're talking Berg.
Anyone who studies York barbell knows that. That's where Bob Hoffman, those are the plates he patterned them off of. So
you got Berg, and then before that, you've got all these 19th and 18th century pieces of equipment. And I remember going to the northern part of Germany to pick up these Circus Barbles, And the lady was like, "Oh yeah, these belong to my grandfather. He was a strong man." I'm like, "What? You didn't tell me that was stuff.
Yeah.
You're telling me now?" Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They were just sitting in his attic when he passed away.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently he told me stories that you could fill these up with shot. I'm like, "What? This is an original shot." You know,
Oh, that's tremendous.
And it's still got the plug and everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's tremendous.
And it's got the line in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line in the middle. And I was like,
yeah,
that's how they knew where to position their hands.
Yeah, the placement.
To place their hands, their middle finger right there and do the one arm snatches and everything else, right? Amazing. So it's like, yeah, it's amazing stuff. And you know, you see all these images of circus strongmen with globe dumbbells and globe barbells, and now you can make that connection, you see. So I find it very fascinating that I'm here when I go pick up this stuff, because you really see some really cool stuff out in Germany. So.
I love hearing the story behind the weights. And so little moments like that are the best, because then it's not just an inanimate object. It's something that has a personal history. So that's so cool to come. Oh yeah, he was a strong man.
Yeah, well, you have that also here in Europe. There's a big family connection. So people know their roots. And every time I go pick something up, like recently, I think I sent you photos of that new dumbbell I bought.
Absolutely.
1930. And the guy told me, yeah, this belonged to my great-grandfather. I'm like, your great-grandfather? Yeah, it's like late 20s or early 30s. I'm like, what? We're talking, you know, this is the time of Berg. So, and this is a plate-loaded dumbbell. At the time, globe dumbbells were very popular. So this is pretty early for a plate-loaded dumbbell. And he goes, yeah, apparently the design was based on Berg's. I'm like, man, you're kidding me. This is a good piece.
Yeah.
What's the brand name? Oh, I can't see any brand name. But you know, my great-grandfather apparently had another bigger piece, and it's much longer. I'm like, what? Go get it. I want to buy it off you. Yeah, there's some photos too. I need to talk to my auntie or whatever about my grandfather. I'll get back to you. My great-grandfather. So I'm still waiting. I'm dying to hear about and see the photos and hear the story.
Me too. Yeah.
You know, because we're talking 1930s in the Saxon region of Germany, where we're talking right then and there, the Saxon brothers, and my Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, where was this guy training? What was it? I want to know everything. So yeah, it's some pretty cool stuff you find here.
Was his name Arthur? No.
I hope so.
That would be something. But even if it's just a connection or from that era and that location, then there was probably a connection. And I mean, I truly believe the vintage weights collecting and appreciation kind of community, if you will, is growing, that there are more people. And I mean, modern manufacturers are making deep dish plates now. There's a movement towards that kind of nostalgic, like behind me on my barbell, I have some LeMaster plates that are homage to Zoovers. There's just a kind of movement, if you will. And along with that, just recently, I'm talking like the last 6 months, some friends of mine, to include myself, made contacts in Canada, so just north of the United States, and suddenly some of the Canadian weights that were just seen as super rare and unattainable are still very rare, but there's more pairs of them. There's more Weider cross hubs, which, let's see if I can angle the camera. I was thankful enough to get some from a Canadian friend of mine recently, and there's more Atlas deep dish plates surfacing, and more Weider globe dumbbells surfacing, and things manufactured in Canada, because now there's basically all these collectors pestering these Canadians to go out there and find them. So it's the reason I bring that up is that on a even bigger scale in Europe, to have someone like yourself with the knowledge and the background and the foresight to look at something and think, oh my gosh, this is from Saxon and it's from this time period, I've got to check this out. That's exactly what the vintage weights community needs is well, and there are other people out there. Like Iron History is a great follow on Instagram, Max, and he's in Belgium, I want to say. And he has an incredible collection of weights and barbells. Ooh. And he's a very friendly very friendly man who, when I recently attained a set of Polish weights, he just immediately started messaging me and was so helpful in researching where they came from and the barbell and the plates and everything to do with them. So shout out to Max at Iron History. Check him out.
Got an Instagram account?
He does. It's Iron History on
Iron History. All right, I got to get in touch with him. I mean, he's a fellow European. He's not far.
Yeah. And incredible collection. I mean, I would love to go to his gym and take a look. Like, he has the way that my barbell rack is mostly American. I've got mostly York barbell, mostly Texas power bars. His barbell rack is all Berge now. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, well, that's what mine's starting to look like now. So I've got a Berg. I'm getting a couple of Snells.
Wonderful.
And the other day I just contacted for a very rare pair of 50 kilogram Schnell.
Ooh.
Very rare.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't believe the price. So I'm gonna have to get them.
Yeah.
The thing is, I hate to say it, I don't want German people to be listening to this.
Yeah, I know. Like, watch out for this guy. He's coming.
The prices are really, really cheap when you compare it to what Americans will pay for. I shouldn't be saying that right myself.
Yeah.
It's the truth. So I can't help but.
The same thing sort of happened with the my friend in Canada, that he started speaking with me, and he's a wonderful guy, and shout out to him too, my man Trevor. I'll drop his information. He has an Instagram account, Old Iron Rehab.
Oh man, we got to swap some contacts.
Yeah. And Old Iron Rehab in Canada, he does really cool stuff, mainly with equipment. And that's where people put me in touch with him. They said, hey, you have a small gym, you don't have much equipment, you're working with barbells, you're working with weight plates and dumbbells and things. You should check out this guy. He'll take an old Nautilus or an old piece of equipment and he'll make it look brand new. So I started speaking with him. Nice. Lo and behold, he lives in Canada. So then he sent me a message. Hey, what are these desirable? And my eyes popped out of my head. They were 1950s Weider cross hub deep dish plates that, I mean, I only knew like 4 people that had them. I said, yes, they're very desirable. He said, oh, I got the 25s, the 10s. They're at this guy's house. I'm like, yes, please go get those. So that started a great relationship where he now is quite knowledgeable and knows what he's looking for. And he's found some treasures. He's found some gems. And I see you the same way, that you're going to find some treasures, and you already have found some treasures that people are going to love. Shipping is the challenge. Yeah.
In all honesty, I'd say, I mean, what I said before, the price that we can pay for some of this stuff is unbelievable. To be honest, I think the worth is more for the small community. You know, yes. For us, we're willing to pay so much more because not only do we understand the value of it, but this is our passion. So
absolutely,
for us, it's more valuable. For these people, they just want it out of their house. So they're like, you know, this has been sitting here for 50 years.
Exactly.
Grandfather hasn't lifted it. You know, and he passed away, and then it was no one else wanted to get rid of it, so it's stuck here for generations. You want to just take it, so you know, it's like that.
It really is here in the United States with certain things too. I mean, I've picked up extremely valuable plates, bars, whatever, and people are thrilled, and they end up asking, "Hey, do you want this too?" And I turn a corner, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take those. I mean, that happened with a pair of wonderful squat stands, York original squat stands that I haven't worked on yet, that are sitting in my garage to be worked on. It was an add-on kind of thing. I was picking up some deep dish plates, and they said, oh, I got these old squat stands if you want them. Like, yes, I would love them. They're beautiful. They have a cast iron base, and yeah.
I guess as you said, shipping is the issue, which is why
it is
mostly. I mean, Weider made it out to Australia, as did York, but we're talking later generations. But yeah, for me to get the deep dishes, the Jacksons, and all that kind of stuff it would mean that I would have to be very rich.
Yeah.
Also have the contacts to be able to get that, which is why I mainly focus on European. But
that's where, I mean, I apologize. I'm not able right now to pick up any of these things from you, but that's basically what it is. You know, the funding and the shipping is just not there for me right now. I do have plenty of American things that I could trade with you. So, we could talk off air here and see, maybe set up a trade for something, and that would bring down the cost for both of us. We'd just be talking about shipping. Yeah. So that's the kind of relationship I need to find, is a European with that is looking for American plates and American barbells.
Yeah. Well, having said that, the most expensive that I think I've paid for shipping got to be for things from Britain. And I had the fortune of, for many years straight, getting contacts for Reg Park weights.
Oh,
especially when I was doing my series of videos with Reg Park.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about squat stands, and I've got the fortune of actually owning 2 different pairs of Reg Park squat stands.
Very cool. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Have you posted those?
Yeah, I have, actually.
Okay, I missed that. I'll have to dig those up in your channel. Yeah, that's very cool. I want to see those.
Reg actually came out with 2 different types.
Okay.
And I only found that out when I had my first pair, when I was overjoyed that it was sent to me. And then a year later, I got another contact saying, I've seen your Reg Park videos. Would you like to purchase these squat stands? I'm like, oh yeah. And I said, oh yeah, when I saw the photos, because when he said, I've got these squat stands initially, I said, I've already got the squat stands, but do you mind taking some photos? You never know, And so he took some photos, and when he took photos of the top of the squat rack, the actual hook was square shaped, much more, I guess, straight, whereas the original was very curved. And that's when I realized that Reg Park had come out with different series of squat stands, right?
Sure. Just like York, the top is slightly different. Like mine are 3rd generation, but the 1st generation is slightly different and kind of ornate, if you will, all the way up to the most recent of the editions that's just a piece of metal.
I would say that Reg Park also came out with different generations of equipment. I've also got some with sharp edges and some with rounded edges, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And you see the changes in the squat rack. And of course, when you think about the fact that he started off Reg Park barbell in the early 50s in the UK, it only lasted there for a year or 2 before he went to South Africa.
Yeah.
And manufacturing must have changed. And we might be talking about 1st generation being purely British, and the 2nd and subsequent generations being from South Africa. So it's very, very interesting stuff when you start looking.
That's what I love. Yeah. Well, I mean, Carlos, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time and with all of the background of things. And when it comes to Golden Era Bookworm, listeners, you can find him at his website, goldenerabookworm.com, as well as the YouTube channel and Instagram accounts. And then the Arnold documentary can be found on Netflix. If you enjoy that, keep in mind that Carlos was the archival researcher for the Arnold series and did a spectacular job, in my humble opinion. So well done on that. And thank you for everything you're doing for physical culture and strength history as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.